Welcome to Heavy Metal Review. This time we're gonna talk about W.A.S.P, why it's such a great band, and what is this special release I'm holding in my hands. As you can see, looks like a vinyl box, but it's not. Now, before that, let's take a quick look on W.A.S.P background. The carrier so far, just a quick one. This is not a retrospective, that will be saved for future. But yeah, W.A.S.P, one of my all-time favorite bands. Ever since I was a kid in the 80s, mid-80s, I was like falling in love with this band instantly, and ever since it has been with me, well, almost 40 years by now. Yeah, that really flies. So what started in California, Los Angeles, early 80s, became one of the most successful rock and roll stories, or at least hard rock, glam metal, hair metal, whatever you want to call it. For me, it was past just simply being more heavy metal than anything else. But yeah, I totally agree that you can label it as heavy metal / hard rock, like it is labeled on metal archives. Now, it's often debated where hard rock stops and where it becomes heavy metal. Where does glam rock, glam metal, and hair metal, all those fit? To be honest, I'm not interested in nitpicking in genres. You could have an endless debate about it. So, for the sake of argument, let's just call it heavy metal and talk about that. So, W.A.S.P made its first album 1984, just self-titled one. And it had always been debated, for a long time, whether it means actually something. And there has been running jokes about like W.A.S.P means weird sexual perverts or white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, whatever. Early, just, speculations, whatever it could mean. Let's be honest about it, it's not the greatest band name out there, especially with the full stops and all. But, doesn't matter how bad or good your band is, because it's the music that counts, and in my opinion, this is pure honesty here, W.A.S.P is the best heavy metal band ever, right there. So, let that sink in for a bit. Now some 40 and then some years later comes this package called The 7 Savage, 1984-1992. Mind you, at this point Metal Archives only shows you the vinyl version, which was released about 18 months prior to the CD version, that is late 2023. And if you take a look at these other versions, it will just show you two different versions of 12-inch vinyl. I wouldn't be surprised if right after my review there suddenly was more information available. I've been too lazy to add it myself, so I'm waiting for someone else to get the points and add it that. But doesn't matter. What matters is that here you have what this package contains. The debut album, the even better second album, Inside Electric Circus the third album, the fourth album Headless Children, and then the Crimson Idol. And after that, you have Live in the Raw, probably the most famous or infamous W.A.S.P live release ever, and then bonus tracks and B-sides. Now, here, mind you, it shows you 8 different discs, because technically speaking, on vinyl, you just had to put Crimson Idol on 2 discs because of its length and all. But in essence, it really means the 7 Savage, meaning 7 different releases inside the box. So before I get to show you the whole package here, unfortunately Metal Archives just so slow these days, it's gonna die. So maybe we'll just shift back to this video here while it loads. So, comes with a nice red book-like appearance. It's almost like a vinyl box. It's sturdy cardboard thing. You can already hear it by the sound of it. It's not paper, but sturdy one. Looks nice. I love it, so simplistic. The classic chainsaw image, the logo, that's it. No extra activities or pictures, whatever needed. Inside, what you will find is indeed a book. And this is coming like with a blood splatter thing. And once again, very simplistic take. The name is right there, talking about the years. Now, when you open the book, you will find, and oops, now there's this one minor complaint I'm gonna say about it. But you will see first 4 albums and then another 3 on the other side of the book. And now about the complaints. I don't want to complain about small things, but this happened to me more than a couple of times is that these CD trays are not exactly the best out there. You know, they are kind of this foam-like material, so when you push the CDs there, you're not 100% sure if they're gonna just come out like this very, very easily, or if they're gonna just like click, because they're not really the clickable ones. So you kind of have to spin them, and still you're unsure if they will just like fall out like that. So anyway, that's a very, very small complaint, by the way. So like I said, you have the first 3 albums on this side and the Live in the Raw. And then you have the Crimson Idol, the live album, the B-sides thing, and then the Hedger's Children on this side. I don't know if it matters in which order they are, but this is how it looks. So, to be honest, I'm very, very familiar with W.A.S.P music because I've been listening to it very, very early on in the 80s. I have almost all the albums in my collection. There are a couple of ones I don't have, meaning the latest one, which I think, Golgotha, the weakest W.A.S.P album ever, along with Kill Fuck Die. But it's not about these albums in this case. This is about the early years, like you see the first 8 years or so, which is, in my opinion, the golden era of W.A.S.P. Mind you, I do love Dominator quite a bit. It would be around my top 3 or 4 of W.A.S.P albums. But when it comes to my absolute favorites, The Last Command, 10 out of 10. Really, I kid you not. It's, in my opinion, the perfect heavy metal album of all times. And I do love Inside the Electric Circus, The Headless Children, The Crimson Idol, and the debut one. But The Last Command is the best. So, what else does this include then but 7 great heavy metal things, including the live and the bonus tracks. First of all, the bonus tracks are just great. And these are a little bit different versions than compared to your, what you might find in your shelves. For example, the debut album doesn't include Fuck Like a Beast, because it's actually on the B-side, because it wasn't originally released on the debut album, even though it was meant to be. So this has those tracks you might have already, especially if you have the reissues and all. But they're included here. And also some other songs that I really didn't have even on my collection, which is kind of weird because I do have some of their newer versions, including a lot of those bonus tracks. But there are couples I didn't have, so it's nice to have them nice too. Also, I didn't have Live in the Raw live because I'm not a big fan of live albums really. I mean, when it comes to visual side of things, the kind of DVD and Blu-rays and all, yeah, it's different. It's fun to watch when you have the visual side. But just listening to the music live, it's like, why would I do that instead of, studio versions? Live in the Raw is really, really good live album, and I don't mind having it, obviously, but it's not that likely that I will go back to it just, with the music and all. But it's a nice addition to any collection in case you don't have it, but you consider yourself a W.A.S.P fan, much like me. So now that is being fixed and all. But let's talk about this book, because what would be a book? What would it be the point of the book if there is nothing to show? So I'm gonna just flip the pages and explain basically. So every album here comes with a story. More like background to the times, the lineups and all. For example, here is the debut album. You will get to see what is the album all about, how it started, how the lineup changes. So then there are lots of cool photos to go with that. There are even comments about the censorship back in the days, like, this PMRC thing, parental music record, whatever bullshit. I'm old enough to remember that those, explicit lyrics, whatever content, just bullshit stickers started to appear and stuff. And that's how, they kind of showed what you wanted to cancel. So if you think nowadays cancel culture is bad, in a way it was way worse back in the 80s and early 90s. There are mentions on this book about it. Now, as you can see, you will find a lot of fancy pictures here, old photography, Blackie Lawless comments on the band, lyrics also, which I think are an essential part when you want to dig deep into the world of these albums. So it's just not like a history book, but it's a lot to do with that. But it's also, showing you the background information, the stories, and once again, these cool photos. If you don't wonder why I'm just browsing through and not, doing total detailed thing, this is because that's what you need to do in order to get this thing, read the pages, read the stories, buy this fucking box. I mean, it's wonderful release in essence. I mean, while it's not a full biography or anything like that, it gives you quite a bit of information how things went. And how Crimson Idol was almost supposed to be the Blackie Lawless solo album versus a W.A.S.P album. Of course, we were thankful for it being W.A.S.P album. But, you know, these stories, these anecdotes, these details are fun to read, especially when you listen to the music. Now, for the music, like I said, I consider the early W.A.S.P albums just best of the pile in terms of all heavy metal. Yeah, sure, there are people who just think Iron Maiden is the top of the game or Judas Priest or whatever, but I've always been this W.A.S.P fanboy. I do love some Iron Maiden, I love some Manowar and so forth, but W.A.S.P already pushed the right buttons since I was a kid, and every now and then I'm an older man, yeah, I still fucking love it. The Last Command is 10 out of 10, and the other albums here, more like 9 out of 10 or 9.5 out of 10. Basically, if we just simplify it a little bit, all are more or less 5-star albums. Now, if I would make a perfect W.A.S.P album of all my favorite songs, I would probably pick them from these albums and add a little bit of Dominator and some random tracks here and there. For example, Crimson Idol has some of the best W.A.S.P songs ever made. So does the debut album. And then again, Headless Children, Inside the Electric Circus, and so forth. And a lot of those other albums after this so-called golden era included. But this is about the early years, and in my opinion, it's really a 5-star release, considering how much you have here. You have all the music, you have all the background stories, you have all the lyrics, you have fancy photos. So it's just not an album or a compilation of albums so much as a collector's item, or in fact both. So what can I say? I'm really, really thankful for the PR company to send me this one because I requested it as a fan. It's not like I needed these particular versions of CDs for my own collection because I do already have the. But then again, I wouldn't have been able to make this review showing you the book and telling you about the ingredients based on just, you know, few photos or the internet and all. So now I'm a lucky owner of this one, and like I said, this is a must-have thing if you are beyond random music listener or casual W.A.S.P fan. If you're a real hardcore fan, in my opinion, you need it, either on vinyl or CD. So the CD version is 2025 January release, whereas the vinyl one is a little bit older. Now, some people complain there is some small mistake on the live album, missing like 1 second or 1 minute or 60 seconds of material, which is basically into the beginning kind of an intro. To be honest, I couldn't have noticed unless someone pointed at me. To be honest, it doesn't matter. But in case you're very nitpicky one, there's supposed to be this version with the corrected intro and all. I'm not sure if it's available already or will it be fixed in the later editions, but to be honest, in my opinion, that wouldn't be, stopping me from acquiring a copy in case you really need it. So here you have proof that this is promotional copy and not for sale. But yeah, a beautiful release all in all, and just made my W.A.S.P love even stronger. Now I urge you to do the same. Listen to W.A.S.P and find why it's a wonderful band with wonderful lyrics, cool lyrics, fun lyrics, super serious ones, and all that stuff. Now take a ride into the past, travel to 80s and travel to 90s with W.A.S.P, and you will probably understand my love for, W.A.S.P, both live and, on albums. I've seen W.A.S.P a few times, and luckily they are touring in now 2025 around the debut album. Let's keep our fingers crossed and thumbs up that I get to do Blackie Lawless interview. I'm not too hopeful about it, but one can at least hope and dream things getting done and see them once again live. You should do the same if you have the chance. It's a great, great band, but won't tour forever now. Guys getting older and shit. Anyway, big time. All W.A.S.P here, so go enjoy, and thank you for checking out the review. Off you go. Bye-bye.